My name's Amy. I'm 23. Today, I want to tell you about the night that changed how I think and feel forever. You might imagine a wedding night full of romance, roses, and sweetness. But my reality was totally different. I was standing in an old mansion in Seattle. Rain was tapping against the windows. The walls were green. Heavy curtains blocked the dark outside. In my hands was a small notebook where I'd been writing down my fears and confusion. In front of me stood the man, Daniel Harvey. I barely knew him. His eyes were cold, serious, and empty. People say marriage is a new beginning, but standing there, I didn't feel that way. My heart was pounding, my hands trembling. I wondered if I should lose myself in this new relationship or protect myself. But this story didn't start that night. 2 weeks earlier, my life was normal. I worked at a small bookstore. Books were my world. I loved sitting by the window, sipping coffee, getting lost in poetry. Then something happened that shook my world. When I got home, the house felt quiet and heavy. Mom looked worried, and Dad sat at the kitchen table with his head down. His eyes showed fear and exhaustion. "Amy, we're in trouble," he said quietly. My heart raced. "What happened, Dad?" I asked. His hands were shaking. He handed me a red envelope. "Our house, it might be impossible to save now," he said. I opened it. Papers showing a huge debt. Our entire property was in debt. Tears welled up in Dad's eyes. "Daniel Harvey said he'd help. But there's a condition," he said. My heart stopped. "Condition?" I whispered. "You have to marry him," Dad said softly. It felt like my world froze. I realized my life was now in the hands of a man I barely knew. The wedding day came, a hot July day. People smiled and sipped champagne at the church. Everyone said, "Look at the lucky bride." But I was shaking. Fear and confusion echoed inside me. Daniel looked at me with a serious face. Without a word, he quietly led me out of the church. His voice was cold. "Let's go," he said. At the mansion, despite my fear, I walked silently. The mansion was huge and cold, made of stone like a castle from a movie. Beautiful inside, but scary. Marble floors, high ceilings, just the two of us, and silence. "The bedroom is upstairs," Daniel said. I nodded. My hands trembled. I knew my life was starting with a new kind of fear and uncertainty. Walking into the room, my heart pounded even more. The bedroom was huge, with a big red silk bed in the center. Cold air blew through the windows, and soft raindrops tapped against the walls. I still held that little notebook where I'd written my fears and feelings. Daniel stood there, his face hard and serious. He quietly closed the door. The click echoed in the room. I stood frozen in fear. "Sit down," he said, but I was scared. I stepped back. Everything in the room felt so big that I felt small, helpless, and alone. Daniel slowly took off his jacket and dropped it on a chair. His movements were slow and careful. He was strong and broad, but somehow not scary. Tears welled up in my eyes. "Please," I whispered. "Don't rush." He stopped. His hands didn't reach for me. He gently touched the chain around my neck and carefully took it off. I felt relief. For the first time, I felt safe. "Why?" I asked softly. He lowered his head. His voice was tired, with a hint of sadness. "You'll understand. With time." We ate simple sandwiches and milk on the floor. It was 2 a.m. We still wore our wedding clothes. The moment was strange but peaceful. We laughed and talked about books and music. Hearing about his childhood made me smile. Slowly, my fear and distance started to fade. I realized he wasn't a villain. He was just a man trying to make the right choices in a tough situation. Near the bed, he gave me a blanket and pillow. "You sleep," he said. "I'll take the couch." I felt he genuinely wanted me to be safe and comfortable. He never wanted to take away my freedom. That night, for the first time, I felt true love isn't born from fear or pressure, but from safety and respect. The night grew deeper. I sat by the window watching the rain while Daniel rested on the couch with his eyes closed. The knot inside me slowly loosened. I realized this relationship wasn't about rushing or pressure, but about understanding and sensitivity. The next morning, soft sunlight filled the mansion room. The rain had stopped, but the cool dampness still hung in the air. I sat on the bed, holding my notebook, replaying the night's memories. Daniel was peacefully asleep on the couch, breathing slow and steady. I quietly got up and walked to the window. Raindrops still clung to the leaves outside. I felt my thinking shifting. The fear was less now, and I saw his honesty. Breakfast time came. Daniel went to the kitchen and made simple food: toast, scrambled eggs, and coffee. He made sure everything was just how I liked it. I was surprised. The man I once thought was dangerous was now truly a partner and a safe hand. We ate together. He smiled softly, warmth in his eyes. "You were scared," he said. "Yes," I admitted, "but now it feels better." We started walking inside the mansion. Huge hallways, tall ceilings, old paintings and photos. He told me about every room, shared childhood memories, family stories, and tales of his hard work. I began to understand his humanity and sensitivity. "You've been very alone," I said. "Yes," he replied softly. "And now I realize how important it is to trust someone." That night, we sat on the floor again, talking about books and places by the sea. We slowly shared our fears and insecurities. He explained that true love doesn't come from fear or force. It waits. It listens. It builds trust. Day by day, our distance and fear lessened. We started spending time in the mansion's garden. Fresh weather after rain, green trees, flowers, and the damp earth all gave us a peaceful space. One evening, as the sun was setting, we sat in the garden. Daniel suddenly closed his book and looked into my eyes. "You know, Amy," he said, "I never thought I could talk to someone so easily." I smiled and nodded. "Me too. I was scared before, but now I think I'm starting to understand." At that moment, I realized that our night, full of fear and uncertainty, was actually the foundation of our friendship and trust. Our little talks, shared moments, and understanding each other's feelings, that was the start of love. At night, moonlight softly spilled through the mansion's windows. We sat on the floor. He softly said, "You were scared from day one, and I realized that overcoming fear is what true love is." I looked at him, and in his eyes there was no fear, only belonging. The knot in my heart completely untied. I realized love doesn't come from jewelry, fancy clothes, or wedding ties. It grows from safety, respect, and honesty. We both opened ourselves to each other's feelings. Fear was no longer a wall between us. We understood that true love is made from patience, sensitivity, and understanding. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and I spent time in different parts of the mansion. Where there was once fear and uncertainty, trust and closeness slowly grew. We learned each other's likes, habits, and weaknesses. One day, in the quiet, clean garden behind the mansion, he suddenly took my hand. His warmth erased all my inner restlessness. "Amy," he said, "I know our start was full of fear and pressure. But now, I want you to know you're a part of my life, my happiness." A smile spread across my lips. I felt fear wasn't controlling me anymore. It had become my support. We stood on the mansion's balcony, feeling the outside light and cool breeze. He said softly, "True love is what makes you feel safe. It respects your fears." That night, we ate simple food sitting on the floor, still in our wedding clothes. I laughed and said, "You know, I still remember how scared I was that first day." Daniel smiled. "And I still remember how cold your hands were. But now we both understand love doesn't come from rushing or pressure. It grows slowly, with care." That moment was the most unique and beautiful in my life. We made little memories in every corner of the mansion, sitting by the bookshelf, listening to raindrops, sharing our fears, pain, and laughter. Time passed. Daniel showed me love doesn't come from jewelry, expensive things, or wedding bonds. It grows from safety, trust, and respect. We honored each other's feelings. That night, full of fear and uncertainty, became the foundation of our friendship and love. A few months later, I realized I truly loved him. He wasn't just my husband, but my friend, support, and safety. I learned love isn't about rushing. It grows with patience and understanding. One day, standing on the mansion's balcony, I asked him, "Were you ever scared?" He smiled. "Yeah, a lot. I was scared you'd hate me. But now I know true love is about understanding fear and respecting it." I took a deep breath. At that moment, I realized that those who respect each other's fears and feelings truly love each other. And love isn't made by jewelry, debt, or a big house, but by trust, respect, and little moments. Today, Daniel and I are best friends even after 50 years of marriage. Our first night, full of fear and uncertainty, was the night that made our love strong and real. I want to tell you this. Your body, your mind, your fears, they all belong to you. No one can use your strength to control you. True love comes from safety and respect. It never rushes. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to our channel. And tell me, do you think true love always makes you feel safe? What do you think is the real power of love?